gods before me, which means I don't want you to raise up to your God self. So therefore, I don't want you to tap into knowledge. You understand what I'm saying? Which is going up the tree of life into the black dot. You understand what's going on here? So what happens is, he vowed to kill every man down here. You see what I'm saying? So the first thing he does is he goes and he influences. So the man goes up, the man raises up to God, the man builds Atlantis. Adalabroth does some crazy stuff. He's always interceding, and he tears down Atlantis. While he's in Atlantis, he influences Yakub or whatever at that particular time, because they got influences. He influences them to make a white boy. Then later on, the white boy will be come the custodians of his father's kingdom, Adalabroth. I know you. You are like your father, the devil. And that white boy will be the one that will hold us down. And it's going to make clear sense when I get into today. So now, what happens is he creates all this particular stuff. Then they say in here that he made a pact with Abraham. Abraham only means the black son. Abraham only means the father of. So the historical Abraham does not exist. It just means he made a pact of a certain black man. He told him that I want you to worship only me. And this way you get patriarchy coming from. This is in the later religions. So the later religions that you get patriarchy where they rule out the woman because they say he despised his mother. He makes a pact with them because the earlier religions, the Kabbalah of the Hebrewism, the ancient Egyptian, the other ones, they were on the planet to bring forth with schools where you come to raise yourself up to gods. You see what I'm saying? So what he did he brought on the monotheistic religions to the point where we talking about monotheism, not that the other ones didn't worship one God, but we're talking about monotheistic mentally, because you can't see no way out of nothing but just bowing down praying. So he brought on the religion basically to bow down to pray. So you can actually, so what happened is you could actually pray to him. But even in the Hebrew scripts, Sophia, the great mother, was working with them, and what she did is she kept slipping into knowledge. So even though he would bring down these damn tough laws that you're supposed to be obedient. So the Hebrews got the Kabbalah. So she takes it, he makes an exoteric Torah, where ain't no women in this thing of no virtue, and all they're doing is being obedient to him. But during the whole time, she's slipping the knowledge in the text where you can go into this Torah to understand what's going down. So then these particular Hebrews, they looking for a Messiah to come and redeem him. The thing that Adalabroth don't want. Because the original Hebrews of the Kabbalah understood that the Messiah was in the whole nation of Israel. So what he does is this. He said, I'm going to put a stop to this whole thing. The Gnostics that was dealing with all of this particular religion, this Adalabroth, the Set Typhon, and in some of the books it said that this particular Set Typhon ended up lasting beyond Osiris and Isis, because their religion ended up being stopped, and his religion went on to the simple fact that we're talking about something whereas you got this fundamentalistic way of thinking, which would be the later religions. So what happened was, he said, I'm going to put a stop to this whole thing. In the Gnostic scripts, you got the word Jesus, which is a Gnostic word, comes from the Coptic religion. So what happens is, he influences one of his sons to come down 2,000 years ago, which you know of as Jesus Christ, that they put that name on whoever that person was, came down and fronted to the people and actually told them that he was the damn Messiah. And it threw the whole thing off. Because at that time, you got a whole large portion of the world that will never look for the Messiah in them so they can raise themselves up, because they're looking for this Messiah. And this Messiah, father, is Adalabroth. Because the book that he gives you, he says all through the book, the Bible, that he's a jealous God. I am a jealous God, I am a jealous God, I am a jealous God, and I have no other gods before me. But now remember now, the Bible is a composite of all other ancient scriptures, so the Bible is still authentic. That's how doggone Sophia, or Newt, or the great mother, kept putting things in there. So she kept putting things in there, so it got to the point whereas he could never totally keep the people in bondage by worship. By worship. So now this particular idolater, what they were talking about here is, just like you got the heavenly white man, you have the same one that's going on up there, whereas one of these original gods, but it was two sons that was created. The creation story, whereas you would have, it was two sons that was created in the creation story, that you would have, that you would actually have, in this particular creation story, where you would have Osiris and all of those particular things, where you would have this. It says the primal time, many described as the time before duality had arisen in the land. On the primordial time of Atum, or Atum, which is the first Adam, which is the first light, it says the Lord of all. It says the first act of creation brought male and female by the twins of self-functioning, the god Shu and Tefnut. It says the twins brought forth another twin, the gods Geb, and the god of earth Geb, and the goddess of the sky Nut. Then in turn produced Isis and Osiris, or Aset and Osar, duality, and so far that man and woman are complementary. However, God and Geb and Nut did not bring forth only one female twin, one male and female, one set of male and female twins, but Set and Nephthys, which disturbs the harmonious development of creation, wherein each pair of gods only produce one other pair. It says, thus, the birthday of Set, this evil Set, or idolater, is the beginning of confusion. Set was one who caused disorder before his name existed, which means his name only exists when he's going to be born. Because he was not born, he caused disorder. Seeing that the birth of Set disturbs the regular process of creation, we can understand what the birth itself represents as irregular. Now, it says this, Plutarch, which was a Greek writer, says that Set was born not due to season or manner, but with a blow he broke through his mother's side and leaped forth. The idea of Set's this ordinary entry into the world appears to be already evident in the pyramid text, which it says it would seem that this particular word MSI, to be born, is deliberately avoided where the regards of Set is as a regard to Set. It says, when the ascension to heaven of the king embraces not the mode of existence of Horus, but also that of Set. Now, what it means here is that you got two things of an ascension of heaven. Not only when they're saying when you get ready to rise up to a certain level, you're not only going to have to deal with the head root principle, which is the Christ in you, you're going to have to contend with that particular entity called Set Typhon, which is one that don't want you to rise because he's jealous of you because you got the original Adam. You see, Set is not a child of God. There is no trace of love on the part of his mother. The text cursing Set do not forget to include, it says, his own mother has turned his back against him. And it's talking about this particular Set in his particular birth. She's turned herself against him. It says, it tells us something about Set himself. It suggested the idea of the mother's fixation in a sense of immaturity in seeming contrast with the other epithet. It says, the great in strength. Now, what it says is because Set's birth was untimely, he is not free and cannot secretly be given a place for himself, which means that in actuality he has a restless nature. He remains a part of his mother's excrement, to speak, the sartry or the vomit, which means in actuality, it says this particular passage, his mouth of the womb of Anet and of Astarte was closed. The two great goddesses who were pregnant did not give birth. They were closed by Horus, and they were opened by Set. So closed mean when your womb is closed, it means it will develop by you, the regular person. You are the Heru because you are the Christ. Your womb is closed so it can develop to its full development. But it says by being opened by Set, he leaped forth and he was not open. So even though the Gnostic scriptures that you get, the secret books of the Egyptian Gnostics, and they deal with one, you know, you can get more and more detailed information on what was actually going on when it comes to the Set, a particular episode in the Egyptian things, because it says the opening produces a inharnage of abortion. Set then would be the god of that brings about abortion. The Greeks, period, the pregnant women wore amulets in regard that it says to contract the womb lest Typhon seize upon you, which means Set Typhon, which is talking about if you didn't wear these amulets of this particular energy, you might have a miscarriage or whatever it was talking about here. So what they're talking about, it says Set was deserted by his concubine. By his concubine is significant here. It says that the pregnant hippopotamus is the protectress of women in pregnancy. One of the names of Beth has feminine traits as well as masculine ones, as it hits the abortion where to put into care, and even and it says was buried into wooden figures. So what here actually it was saying the amulets that the Greeks was wearing was the goddess Beth, and the goddess Beth protected them from abortions. So what was going on here with this Adalabroth here that they was talking about here is Ogu, if you read it in the Osirian drama or the Dogon drama, he's jealous of us because we got the original dew of light, or the original Adam. So remember I said we was going through all this stuff, whereas every time we would get to a certain level, and the more and more you got more and more spiritual, or got more and more in tune with yourself as far as things started happening to you financially. Things start happening to you emotionally, and different things like that. That's because there's an entity in space that it was making it hard because they don't want you to actually rise up. So he's taking his particular whiteboard that was made by us as a tool for him by some renegade that was influenced by him. He's taking him and he's giving him all of the actual riches and the technology and the power to continue to keep us down. And so now we have actually literally identified this particular Adalabroth. Now, there's one thing that was interesting. All of the world scriptures, when you talk about Israel, if you clearly read Israel as Israel being a nation that was going to go down into suffering, you clearly know that is us. So Adalabroth, who was in cahoots with Hitler, which we're just talking about entities. When we say Adalabroth, we're not just talking about, we're talking about a whole star system that you talk about the Pleiades, like I told you in the last lecture, that in actuality was in cahoots with Hitler and influenced Hitler, and Hitler came and tortured the fake white Jews to throw off things. You see, when you read the scriptures, and the scriptures clearly state that the chosen people will be the ones that be the suffering ones that will be suffering throughout history and will rise up after their suffering. Clearly everybody would know it was black. Up until the 1940s of World War II, no other people on the planet has suffered like us. So the Pleiadians had to also influence Hitler to go after the Jews, the fake Jew, so somehow he can carve a place in world scripture and take on and fulfill the prophecy of our scripture that we had already fulfilled thousands of years before. Up until this damn day, we fulfilling the prophecies. So now it's got the whole world thrown off about the suffering Jews. And everybody think it's this doggone Jew that suffered for 6 damn years in World War II. That in actuality, after World War II, he got a whole damn homeland. More than we can say about a lot of races. Not even the Native American ain't even got a homeland compared to him, you see. So they use this particular one to throw off the actual scriptures to keep people in confusion. keep people confused. So the Pleiadians, which is headed by Adalabroth or Set Typhon or whatever, this evil entity put forth this whole thing as far as World War II, which was all influenced, because I went deep into that before, because all this is a form of the whole cloning and everything else that went down. They put forth all of this particular thing to produce a fake Jew, which in actuality, they made this fake Jew, white fake Jew, historically adequate when they went to the actual suffering. So they keep a whole lot of things going on in the Middle East. Hell, they're still on the land with the Arabs. They keep this thing going on so you will still be thrown off and thinking that they are the ones that's actually suffering. You see? And I hear black people today saying them poor little Jews, they haven't known a moment of peace since Abraham over in the Middle East. And they don't even know they're the damn ones. Check. All right, so that was the actual thing that actually went down with the actual Jews in World War II. Now, you want to take a break, or you want to take a break? Because I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you that he created one thing that we can't shake. There's one thing that he created and he put on us that we can't shake, and if we can get past that, we can go on. And I'm not only that, I'm going to show you a way that you can even kill this motherfucker that I even got also too. There's a way to kill him. We got a good way, There's a way, so it's not even just doom and gloom, and it's real simple. We can even kill him also too. So let's take a little break, and then when we come back, we'll end up with that particular part also too. All right. Huh? Oh, okay. Yeah. I want to end off on some things, because one thing that Adalabroth or Set Typhon did when they created the physical man, one thing they did is got us trapped, and that's the reason why we can't really break loose anything, is they put a skin around you called the shell, and the evil entity is your shell. The skin is the ancient, skin comes from the ancient word sin, and sin means restriction. In your body, you have a restricted body, but this flesh, this flesh is literally, psychologically, because you think this flesh is actually you. This flesh controls you. Everything that you do, whether you buy clothes, whether you watch another person on TV, anything that you do in the sake of living is based on your flesh. Everything when you think about it. So that is the imprisonment. That is actually imprisonment. So that was one of the main parts, and it's called in the Kabbalah, it's called the shell. I want to read you some stuff on the shell. It's called the shell in the Kabbalah, which is in actuality the evil counterpart of what they call sin. The original sin is what you call the original skin. Bear in mind that the soul is actually a part of God and originates from the world of emanations in which all godliness which comprises the 10 Sephira, which is the Kabbalah, being the origin of all worlds and all souls. From the world of emanation Attilus extends. Now I want to get right to the point here. I'm going to read. I'll get right to the point here. What is dealing with this actual shell that they're talking about here. And this particular shell they're talking about is this evil part of the skin, which you say you're born in, and it's talking about actually restriction. Let me deal with another page and all, because this is going too far. But there's a part in here that I want to read to get right to the point and all. Let's see here. Okay. This particular shell that they're talking about here, this shell that is, in fact, it says, we find thus that the shell obtains the power that oversteps its limits against the sacred being and to block the avenue of radiation of light. So all we are light beings, and the thing that's blocking us is this particular shell. It says, this signifies defeats in the lights. But it says, but the main triumph over its evil and the evil spirit, the shell, is subdued and remains changed in her limits. Then the light shines as it meant to shine. Now what it means here is, they were saying that this particular part, it oversteps its limits, which means this shell. This shell is only the prison house or the storehouse in actuality that we have been put into. And this particular skin, which you call sin, they say you're born in sin, you're born in restriction, you're born in the skin, and you are beings of light. Now to us, this don't mean too much, because we born into the skin, or we born into the shell, and we say, well, that can't be all bad because we learned to love it. But let's say if you were a light being, and somebody put a shell around you. But now the first shell that they put around you, even though Adalabroth put us in this particular shell, and he made us prisoners to the physical, the first one, when she put the dew of light inside of us, it was hidden from Adalabroth, and he couldn't see it. And that was the reason that the Great Mother was able to slip it in, and he could not see it. And that's why in actuality, even though we can see our auras, they could not see that particular shell, that particular star inside. So secretively, he goes after the black people and all by using the white boy and all. But in actuality, by them putting it in there, it hid it from him. It hid the dew of light from him. And so therefore you would be able to ascend. You would be able to ascend in the last days, because even he, Adalabroth, is the master of arrogance. And by being the master of arrogance, it's the same thing as the white boy. The white boy thinks that you have no virtue in you that in actuality can defeat him. He laughs at you each day saying, oh, them niggas, I got them. Well, it's the same thing when it comes to Adalabroth. It's the same thing that comes to him when it comes to the actual looking at us. The shell actually became his enemy in the end, and that's why they was able to hide from him up until the last minute. So up until the last minute. The word Shechem is the Egyptian word for melanin. You have what's the name, say Shechem, which he said it means great house and all, but in actuality it's a metaphysical term that means melanin. And also you'll find this word in the Bible too. And I'm going to give you the two pronunciations for the word. And I want to read something on this thing, and so when you can find it in the actual Bible. It says, but occasionally the original Egyptian term has been retained in the Hebrew transcription, such as the term is Shechem. One means burial place of the mummy of Osiris. So the burial place is talking about the black dot where you actually exist. So when we look at this particular, in the wisdom of the Kabbalah, and we see this particular black dot, they call it the egg or the baby of the egg. This is where, well, this is one dot which is in the middle here, but the other one would be, let me get that particular one. This is where you actually exist, in this particular black dot, which is also the dew of light that's in your brain. So everything else is just a function that you have been mistaken to think is actually you, because you are dealing with it. And the only reason why you are not focusing on this is the simple fact that you got this shell, which is sin, and this particular shell here is throwing you off. So the more you play with the shell and the more and more you in love with the shell, you see what I'm saying? The more and more you in love with the shell, you know, the more and more you get thrown off. So now if you notice, that's the reason why more and more you're seeing more things on weight, and things on exercise, and these crackers are exercising, and these crackers are all into the damn body. You see, they're all into the body, and everything you see, especially in January, you get the Weight Watchers commercial, you get the Jenny Gray commercial, you get the Spa 9000, and all these damn holiday spas and all this here. And what it is they're focusing on the shell. They're focusing on the shell. Now, at one time when we had to be here for a certain matter of time, we used to use the diet and all that for the shell also too. But the diet basically now is to just literally raise your vibration. Not necessarily to live long and all. Who gives a damn if you check out of here, because this is hell. But the key is now the white people are focusing more and more on the doggone shell. And the false idols, what we call movie stars, and these icons that we follow. And that's why every white woman in Hollywood is like a pencil and stuff like that. You see. So what the deal is this, and so this is the point on which is actually killing us. So the Shechem, which is the burial place of the mummy Osiris in the ritual, is the burial place where you are buried. And it says the deceased is buried in the mummy of Shechem, which means in actuality, in real life, in the physical, you are actually dead for the simple fact that you live only within the particular part because you are hibernating. So we are not really living in the simple fact that we are dealing with the actual physical, which means it doesn't exist, so your life does not exist. So in one aspect on how to raise yourself spiritually is to basically minimize everything that you do in everyday life that you think is important. Really is not important, because this is nothing but a damn prison house. You know what I'm saying? Prison is the only relative when you're in prison. But once you get out of prison, you don't want to damn understand what's going on in prison because you no longer need that anymore. So that's the same thing what we're talking about here too. It's only relative based on your situation, and the circumstance dictate the agenda. So what you do is you take your agenda and turn it away from the damn circumstances by basically ignoring the things that you think is important. Now I'm not talking about basic necessities, but I'm saying any type of tradition that you think is emotionally important is not. You see what I'm saying? And any type of philosophy that you claim to, that you think is emotionally important, is actually not. Also, it says the well of Jacob near Shechem is also the well of Osiris near Abydos. So Jacob in the Bible just means Osiris, and Osiris just means the black body. So Jacob, which means the house of Jacob, or Jacob's ladder, the ladder of lights which is in you, which is the chakra system. So you are the Jacob, or you are the Osiris, or the ladder of lights, and all. So the house of Jacob that they're talking about here, and all. Jacob near Shechem is also Osiris near Abydos, and the oak or the cherubim in the Shechem, in the tree of life, and also the pool of Persia. The fields of Shechem correspond to Sekhet Hetep, or the fields of peace and plenty of the Camite original. Now, when I was dealing with the other time, I was telling you about the Sekhet Hetep, which is also the fields of Sekhmet, which is also fields of blood, and that's why the minstrel ritual that I gave forth about the sisters is a way that you can tap into the other world to get what you want. And like I said about the minstrel ritual, you know, on your second day of your period, or the most strong day of your period, you get a red candle, wear all red, write what you want on paper on red, stand before the candle, be specific, and put it out in the universe, but also do an actual invocation to whatever deity deals with the menstrual cycle. Basically, the Egyptian one is also Sekhmet. Lilith also deals with that too, or whatever. And who is it in Yoruba? Yeah. If you just basically, I think I'm not sure who it would be, but anyway, I know. Oshun would be it, wouldn't it? Right. Right. So that would be it. But so you do that now. Now remember now, like I said, also for the brothers, this is not just a thing for the sisters. This is a thing for the brothers. So you don't even have to be married. You just happen to know a sister. Tell the sister to put some words into your ass when she on her period. You see what I'm saying? So this is just the key is whereas you can literally utilize it and get what you want, basically by doing the particular ritual and all to actually Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm saying, we'll get into that in question and answer and all about this, you know, the tantra sex. We can do that. But anyway, so the fields of blood, since we are entered into the second hetep, which is the fields of blood, which is talking about stations in a mentor, or the crossing over. And we are at that particular point right now, so therefore it's crucial when it's talking about the women in the period, they can literally flow along with this particular energy that is on the planet now. You can flow along, and if you lock it in with your period, you can get what the hell you want. But like I say, always balance it with something spiritual also when you're dealing with that also too. When you're dealing with that also too. Also, Shechem is also called Shekinah. Shekinah in the Kabbalah. In the Kabbalah. I want to read something about in all. Also, Shekinah in the Kabbalah, Shechem, all that is dealing with melanin, and is also dealing with certain aspects of the Christ energy and all. Okay. Now, in the particular part of Shekinah, you also have something that says Shekinah is the spear of Malkuth awaiting the bridegroom. Awaiting the bridegroom. So let me look in the Kabbalah and find out where the bride, who would be the bridegroom. in Shekinah. It would be Tipperath. Now, I need to find out what sphere is that on in the Kabbalah, so I can show it to you. See if I got I think I have one in this book at the beginning. So Shekinah is the earth, Malkuth, which they call this Mother Earth, which is also called the daughter. And they say Shekinah is waiting Tipperath. Now Tipperath is right here, which is, I figured, which is the sun, 6. 6 is also a number for the sun. 666 is also a number for the sun. So Malkuth, Heru, right. And Malkuth is waiting, which is the daughter, which is the earth, which is us. The fallen daughter is waiting for the sun, which is the sun inside of us. So it says that Shekinah is the sphere awaiting Malkuth, the bridegroom, in Tipperath, which is the sun. By the conjunction of the exalted Shekinah, or the Black Shulamite, she is described in the alchemical literature as is redeemed and raised to the sphere of the mother Bina. Now, so it's called Shulamite. O Shulamite is afflicted within and without. The watchman of the great city will find thee and wound thee, which the white watchman will be the actual white man or whatever evil entities, because I'm going to show you who the Shulamite is in a minute. And strip thee of thy garments and smite thee and take away thy veil. Yet shall I bless the art, bless again, and I am delivered from the poison and brought upon me by the curse. And my innermost seed is first birth comes forth from its father, the sun, which is Tipperath, and its mother, the moon. Ye are else, and no other bridegroom who should love me and bless me, because I am black. So the Shulamite is also called blackness, or the Black Shulamite. Blackness is the favorite allusion to the alchemists of the Black Earth, Kim, Egypt, and the art of alchemy, and to believe to originate, have originated from Kim, Egypt. Shulamite is my name given to the queen, and described in the Song of Solomon is a particular reference to the sphere of the return, O Shulamite. So Shulamite being black, it means return, O black. The description of the alchemical Shulamite relates to the exalted Shekinah, which is the sphere of Malkuth that I've been showing all day at the bottom. In the Gnostic image, Sophia often bears the title of Punctious, that means whore, and refers to her exile in the matter of the unwedded, separated from her heavenly consort. And it says, and violated by physical powers or material powers. So what it is that the Shulamite is also talking about Sophia. Now let me break this thing down. Sophia, which was also Nut, the great mother, when it was Adalabra, she shitted him into creating you. When she created you, he breathed into you, and she came through him and put part of her in you. The part that she put into you is called Shulamite, or Shekinah, which is called the 50 gates of understanding, or Shekinah. And Shekinah exists in the bottom of the sphere of the cosmos, which is down here, the kingdom, which is the daughter, which is also talking about melanin. So she said, because I am black, you defile me, and you have also smite me. So in actuality, they're also talking about the black dot and all of this particular part too. And Sophia was the one that did that, or the great mother, put a part of her in you. So these are also some actual mysteries, some actual mysteries of the same particular image. The riddle of the Sphinx, that the Greeks always tell you some riddle of the Sphinx. The riddle of the Sphinx of life can be solved only by the living experiences of all worlds, from the lowest to the highest. So that means the riddle of the Sphinx is, you're talking about a particular people that have to live from the lowest to the highest, and nobody's been as low as us. So therefore, because we are on the bottom, that is the riddle of the Sphinx. The riddle of the Sphinx is called the black man buried in a shallow grave. Check. Or the black woman buried in the actual shallow grave is also talking about that particular one. Now, in the secret books of the Egyptian Gnostics, which I need to mention, where's this book? Here. In the secret books of the Egyptian Gnostics, I think it's on page 74, which I had mentioned earlier in my lecturing back in like 92 or 93. It says, a Greek Coptic under the impact of the worlds of the heavens are suddenly opened. Jesus and his followers are transported immediately in space and in front of them, staring amid the winds, behold, ships manned by the sun and the moon, manned by fantastic beings. In here, they was talking about this particular initiate in the future, because there is no historical Jesus that did this. The one that's in the future that they're talking about, which the Jesus is the Christ which is in you. They were saying in actuality he did something to the actual followers, and when the heavens was open to them, they literally saw these particular ships. Now it's interesting because the guy Gene DeRest at the bottom said, well, we have studied this and we have found out that this particular initiate in the future, because there was none in the past, you see, are the initiates that they're talking about, the ones who gave this particular information was ones of the Gnostic schools. It said that they have had access to a demotic magical papyrus of London Leyden, which there's a book put out by Dover, a little $6 book called the Leyden Papyrus, the magical Leyden Papyrus. It's a $6 book put out by Dover, and in there is a ritual on how to access the mothership. Now it's interesting because I did this ritual in '93, and that was the first time when I did the ritual. I had been meditating for like a month, and wasn't getting nothing. You know how you first get down and you meditate, you can't get nothing. And the night I did the ritual was the night I started opening up. Shortly after, about an hour later, when I went into meditation, all the energy just started rushing, and that was the first night I felt something when I did the ritual out of this little old small $6 book called the Leyden Papyrus, which is literally opens you up. You see, which we're going to do another ritual tonight before we get out of here, a ritual on how to open you up and all. I just hope, God willing, that the energy can literally transform us and all, because it's a powerful ritual, the Egyptian master ritual. We're going to do also tonight also, too. So, anyway, it's recorded in this particular book, Gene DeRest book on page 74, but in that little small papyrus is the book, the Leyden Papyrus, the Leyden Papyrus, a magical papyrus for $6 from Dover Publications, by Griffith, and it's got all kinds of magic in the little book, because even though we got this new magic stuff coming from the Europeans, this is the ancient magic that was translated from Greece, from Egypt, and in there they got all kind of stuff, how to kill them all, how to do all kind of stuff, how to love potions and all that stuff. There's a magical papyrus coming out of Egypt. So you could get that particular book, because I do know that particular one worked pretty good that time. So, but I needed to mention that also. Also, if you go back and see the movie Ben-Hur, Ben means son, and Hur comes from the word hair. It means son of Heru, or son Heru. So Ben-Hur just simply means the Christ. Shu, the son, son in Heru, because it was Judah Ben-Hur. So Judah comes from the word Jew, and the word Jew comes from an ancient Egyptian word Shu, where you get the word Shusenhar, which was the ones that followed the dis Atan, and it's a linguistic word, Jew. You can hear the Jew and you can hear the Shu in the same thing. It's a linguistics meaning that came down based on the variations that ended up Jew. So Judah Ben-Hur means Shu, son in Heru, or Shu, son of Heru, or Shu, the son Heru. And the great chariot race that they did was, if you go back to the Gnostic scripts, Heru in the Gnostic scripts is called Abraxas, and Abraxas is also called the charioteer. So the great chariot race was in actuality, which was actuality a fight between the gods. So it was actually the chariot. Chariot is also talking about a great race in the future. It's talking about a battle, a space battle that was brought out in Rome. But the story, you see what I'm saying? Because it's not a historical story, so that means in actuality the particular person who wrote it actually got channels from it. because it's all symbolic, because he raced in the chariot and he defeated his enemy, the one that put him in prison, which is the white man that put you in prison. And at the end, what happened? He goes and he got his mother all messed up. They got leprosy. And what he does at the end, the only way that they can be saved from leprosy is he takes them and they see Christ. But even though they're thinking it's the Son was also in them that cured them. And at the end, he was cured and he saw Christ. But remember now, when he was riding the chariot, he was in Rome, and because he won the citizen race, they say it's just like anything else. You win the NBA, you won the NFL, and the white people saying you won ours. You see what I'm saying? He had it made. He was in corporate America. Shit, he had it made. All he had to do was chill. The man said, I'm going to give you a house, and I'm going to give you citizenship in Rome, and you will be admired just like us. So it's actuality saying, you get ready to be close to the damn slave master. You see? But he was like, no, I can't do that. My people are oppressed by your people. Go check the movie out. Ben-Hur is all a symbolic movie of our life. And the Ben-Hur is actually you. You see what I'm saying? It's real key that you get that particular one. In the horse race, you had 4 horsemen. In the horse race, you had 4 horsemen. The 4 horsemen originally comes from the Greek word Horus, man. The 4 Horus men, which is the 4 sons of Heru, which also represents the 4 seasons. You see what I'm saying? So the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse is talking about the 4 seasons, and you can tell when the 4th season is going on, because when these 4 horsemen start running, every season, whatever the damn danger in that season, you're going to get it. This summer, the danger was heat. They put it on your ass. The fall, it was hurricanes. It went all the way from A to Z and all the way back around where they're naming them. You see what I'm saying? The winter season, boom, what happened? They put it on their ass again. And also hit the church of Philadelphia, which Philadelphia was covered with snow. That's all in the Revelation. And now spring is coming. You understand what I'm saying? Which in actuality should be the final season. There's a lot of stuff getting ready to go down because the vernal equinox is on the 15th. You see what I'm saying? The vernal equinox is on the 15th. So the 4 horsemen, you see what I'm saying, is actually talking about the 4 seasons. And I think it was 4 sets of horse chariots in the movie. Or it might have been more, but it was actually talking about, if they had more, it was still symbolic to the 4 horsemen and the 4 seasons. All this stuff we can break down based on the esoteric values of what actually is going on. You see what I'm saying? I wanted to mention this because I mentioned it on the radio and the people didn't hear it. I want to mention this again because I wanted to put this on tape so somebody could later on get it. Because I had found out about this information in the fall of 1994 and wasn't able to say it for some damn reason. But hey, now it's to the point where we can say what the hell we want to say. You know what I'm saying? They're killing us anyway. But it wasn't a matter of just being, I didn't understand why the spirits didn't want to say, but now I come to find out in actuality the ones that probably didn't want to say it was actually ones that was interfering on the channels, and it was actually the evil entity that didn't want me to say this particular part. But anyway, what happened was it's based on Sheikh Anta Diop. And I said it on the radio, but I'll say it again. Sheikh Anta Diop in 1985 started to come to the ASCAC conference, wherever it was being held that year, and the plane was sabotaged and they almost wrecked and he couldn't come based on they did something to the plane. The next year, the black scholars literally snuck him out of Africa, and before anybody ever knew it, Diop was on the plane and in America. And he came and spoke at the King Center, and you know, Andrew Young and them named National Diop Day. You see what I'm saying? National Diop Day. Well, obviously they shouldn't have went to that body of people, but even when he came and spoke at the King Center, that element of the people where he came to was the same government and them people who was trying to kill him in the first place. So what happened was with Diop is Diop, on the way back, they poisoned Diop on the plane. They poisoned Diop on the plane, and when he got off the plane, when the plane landed in Senegal, he was already dead. And when his wife came to visit him, the crackers there would say, it's one thing you can do. Either you can die along with him, and we can dispose of it, or you can go back home and be quiet, and we can announce the day, and can announce in a few weeks later, or a few months later. I think it was like, I don't know how long, the time later that he had died. You see what I'm saying? And it can be cool. So she opted to go back home and shut her mouth, and they said, on the other hand, we want all his damn papers. So she turned all his papers over to the doggone French government. But one of the keys is the people was thinking, and the scholars didn't understand, hell, they had already printed Civilization of Barbarism, which was supposed to be in his last book. So why would the French government want papers that was already been printed, which he had African origin of myth of reality, African origin of civilization, pre-colonial black Africa, and the other one, the other one that was dealing with cultural unity of black Africa. All these books was already printed. So why would they want papers or books was already printed? That's not what they wanted. What happened was, just like I said, in this particular book, Valdez book, dealing with not only the mysteries of set time, but it also deals with as above, so below. It's also dealing with the nature of the white man. So if you want to understand how inferior this God was, you just look at the physical creation of the white man. And also based on that, in this particular book, they also talk about, they give also references that never made it out of French and never made it across the Atlantic. So therefore, at the same time, there's a book, Alan H. Gardner's book, Abduction Extraordinaire, which is a book talking about the white boy being abnormal. So obviously by Diop being a PhD in a multiplicity of degrees and studying in France all his life, he ran up on some of that material. And he had gotten some other material on certain archetypal cranial structures that in actuality linked the white man back to the goddamn ape. And so therefore they wanted the papers, they wanted that particular papers. You see what I'm saying? Because they got all this kind of stuff over in Europe. Mainly in France and in Germany, because those are and in Russia. You see what I'm saying? Places where, and Italy. And even though they have tons of this stuff in England, but those places have a lot of stuff on the white boy because they understand that most people, they're only interested in the black people over here. Because they know that this is the hub of intelligentsia. So therefore they know that basically, because most of the Africans go there and all hell, they just want to be white. You know, they should be so glad to get out of Africa, you know what I'm saying? They ain't interested in no revolution. You see what I'm saying? And that's just reality. So now, you see what I'm saying? Just dumb as hell. One of my girls, she told this African guy, said, look at the ship up there. He said, oh no, that ain't the ship. That's cable. And if you see one around your house, that means you got cable too. He thinking it's some damn light, some satellite for cable, or he thinking it's a literal light pole with something for cable. He think that's the way cable get brought to your house and shit. You see. But anyway, he had found out about this stuff, and because he was over there, there was a whole wealth of knowledge over it. He had tapped into that, and that's the papers, and that was some of the stuff he was going to put out later on. You see what I'm saying? He was going to put out later on, but he made one mistake. He married that beast, and what happened was that she got up all his shit and turned it back into the doggone government. You know, but that was one of the parts. They killed him, they poisoned him on the plane. And when he got back to Africa, he was already dead. You see what I'm saying? And that's what the key was, just make him have a heart attack. And they said he had a heart attack. Well, hell, ain't no problem. They got drugs that make you have a heart attack. They can spray some shit on you, have a heart attack in a couple of seconds. So yeah, he did have a heart attack, but what they didn't tell us, he had a heart attack on the plane. You see what I'm saying? Also, you know that they got some white people that was found in Italy. I got this from Juju. Also, I heard that they said it was something, I think it was some news report. They got some white people found in Italy with tails, a whole tribe of these mugs. Found in Italy with tails recently, I think right before Christmas. A whole crew of them. Now, yeah, I still got the picture, but I'm saying they got a whole crew of them now, you know, found over there with tails and all. These clones is really going crazy. Yeah. Which brings me to the other part on what's actually going down here. What's actually going down here. Not only could they not make the black clones until the early 80s. See, they could make white clones since the 1940s with Hitler. They was not able to produce a black clone and produce the dark skin and all that without it mutating into the European until the 1980s after the Atlanta child murders, and based on the information that, but also now they was also getting this information from the actual aliens. But it was the Atlanta child murders. After the Atlanta child murders, they was able to produce, based on the interferon and all, they was able to produce the black clones. But not only do they do the clones as far as laboratories, but not only that too, there's another form of cloning that we need to address, and that is in actuality that the actual Pleiadians can literally come in and take over your body and wear it like a spacesuit. So you got some clones that's the regular DNA gene splicing based on your Hoken Bridge Road out here where they hooked up to a machine and make another duplicate of you that you saw in Judge Dredd. But the other clones is walk-ins where they literally just come in and walk into your body. So now some people with any degree of knowledge and all, they can literally walk into your body. The good part about it is you do not, I thought that they just snatched your body and you died or whatever, but in actuality they cannot remove you from your body. They can just walk into your body and this other entity can possess you, whereas you will be a zombie, but you will be controlled by the other entity that's also inside of you. And one of the main ways that they actually are able to do it is also based on not drinking enough water and not eating enough fruits and a lot of diet things. Also, if you're eating these forms of meat, as far as all the meat, like especially like chicken and beef and all those type things, that's not meat anymore. That's literally clone meat. Because anytime they kill 9,000 chickens a damn minute, they don't have 9,000 chickens on the planet to kill a minute. That is because what you're dealing with here is laboratory meat. So based on that and all, they're able to go in, and these people can stay in your body based on your body being unclean. You see, what happens is when you eat a lot of greens and eat a lot of vegetarian stuff, what happens is and drink a lot of water, your aura becomes strong, and your aura is not only there just a light, it is also a protected barrier that protects and radiates. So if your aura is strong, they can't penetrate. Now that is why it is key to somehow raise your vibratory rate, as if what I was saying, from the lower chakras. Well, this would be a high chakra because that's it, because that would be the wrong thing. But like I said before, to raise your chakras to a great degree up to at least the heart chakra. Because see, what it means is this. Below the heart chakra, you're not really living. You're just dead. You understand what I'm saying? You're just energy walking around with programmed rote learning that's programmed when you was a child. And basically the children are spiritual. You know, they're walking around and acting, they're spiritual, and then all of a sudden you program in them to be zombies. You see what I'm saying? And that's because the ego takes over more and more. And in puberty, the ego sinks in. So what it is the ego is in this area under the heart chakra. It's pulsating from your root chakra. So by the ego being in your root chakra, this is the consciousness that you'll be in. The majority of the people who are not trying to raise it or who do not have any thoughts towards nothing but just survival, they are pulsating from this chakra. So if their intelligence is down this much, that means that they are just literally zombies and they're not really living. So therefore, the actual walk-ins, the entities can come and take that body. You see what I'm saying? And walk in that body. So it's crucial that you try to get your frequency up to the heart chakra, also with thought. And you do it basically by basically turning away from one type of living where you are totally functional on the physical, and these two eyes, which is a cheat, and the logical and the rational mind, and basically dealing with spiritual endeavors where you think about this stuff 24/7. Even when you're doing something else, you're thinking about it. You see what I'm saying? Hell, I watch TVs and I go to the movie too. But I'm conscious at all times. You see, and start pulsating from this on up. So now what is actually happening where we're talking about thousands upon thousands? They say damn near 85% of the earth down here is not damn near walk-ins, zombies, and can be used by other entities. So Adalabroth, what he did was, he knew he was losing the fight. He knew he was rising. So he said to keep some of those from rising, the ones who have not risen, but remember, it's only going to be a small clique anyway, so we still went into war. But we're just talking about the dead and what's happening to them now. To keep some of them from rising, we're going to send the angels that I have created. Basically, people in the whole cluster, in some element of the Pleiadian system, and some other star system is working with this renegade entity. They send them down to the earth, and they literally walk into the bodies. They literally walk into the bodies. And their main thing is to keep, and a walking is basically to keep a person focused on anything but consciousness. So therefore, you got people acting like fools, you got people more in the political structure, and you got people, and I'm telling you, there's literally, we dealing with two different worlds here. And it's a minute, small world. We only talking about a consciousness that's less than 1%. And we talking about, I don't know how the percentage thing go, but what's less than 1, or oh what? Point something. Shit, probably 0.2. Probably 0.2 and you think of all the people in the world. You understand what I'm saying? Probably 0.2 something of consciousness. Which is, but remember now, always bear in mind that the earth don't operate from the masses. The earth operates, let me show you this. The earth operates, and this is a good analysis to show you how the earth operates. The earth operates only, this is a book, I don't know, it might be out of print. I know I got it, I stole it a couple of weeks ago and it started falling apart. I think it was an old book that they had in the store a long time ago. Shit. I advise y'all not to do that.
Do not try this at home.
Do not try this at home. Because I be rolling with some spirit shit when I go up in there. And I'm literally invisible. Go through the beeper and all. Nothing beat. Sisters, none of that shit go off. But you got to know what you're doing to do that shit. I swear to God, I done detect it. I know how to do the shit. That shit go through the beeper, nothing beeper, none of that shit. But you got to know how to invoke. Y'all might go through that shit. So I advise you not to try that stuff. The world is run from this point. So basically, all of this round here don't make a damn bit of difference if they get all of this. You understand what I'm saying? If they get all of this. But basically what I'm saying is the masses are basically now, they have sent those down there and they have been walk-ins. So even if they was dead in the 80s, some of those are still dead for the simple fact that some of them who even started thinking of consciousness, they literally got other entities in them now. I'm telling you, we are that far. Well, obviously we got to be that far. If we're looking and we're seeing some shit where, I mean, look. For this year, basically we can say from down all of 95 and all of 96 so far, we are literally living this thing. We're seeing things with the weather going on and seeing the crackers act like a fool and everybody act like a fool. So if we are in the last days, then obviously these are the things that was also prophesied that would happen. You see what I'm saying? And they say they will come against Israel like no other. They was not only talking about the white man, they was also talking about the forces. Because those forces don't want us to take the throne back. You see, and they're working against it. So what they're doing is, for a lot of these people, they are just basically just coming in, and they're just coming in, and they are actually walking in. Now I'm not just talking about analysis. Everything I'm talking about experiences. Okay, I get one brother calls me. He breaking codes of the pyramid. He breaking stuff. The brother is on it. Next thing I know, it's a new person. This person now, this person is talking about the Lord Jesus Christ and all this, and he starts throwing up and all this here. They got him. They got him. They didn't do it with the clone thing. They walked in his body. Another brother from South Carolina I met, he was doing fine 2 weeks ago. He called, he said, man, I just got out of the mental institution. I said, you say he was in there for 2 weeks. They came in and got in the body. So they can do these things, so you got to be careful, not to the simple fact of whatever, you just got to be on your game. Basically what it means is this. This is the key on the walk-in shit. If you ain't real, then it's best for you to just go back into society and try to be ignorant. Sometimes they don't mess with you for being ignorant because they figure you have no virtue in the first place. They say he's an idiot anyway, so ain't no need to walk in. But don't be straddling the fence. They're talking about the lukewarm. You can't be cold and hot on this shit. With this knowledge now, I'm telling you what I know. I've seen this thing with my own eyes. I saw it last year. I went to speak with a sister. Sister was on it. This year, total new sister. Total new sister. Total sister. You see what I'm saying? They can walk in those bodies. So we talking about that kind of stuff going on. So, and they walk in based on your heart. Your heart is, when they say your heart, they're not talking about, what's that? Right, right. Let me tell you how they do it also too. What they do is this. They'll come in and whisper shit in your ear and telling you thoughts or low thoughts to make you feel depressed, and you thinking it's your own thoughts. And one day you'll be up, the next day you'll be down. You don't even know. It'll be fucking entities in your shit, and you thinking it's your own thoughts. One day you just happy and shit. And you know, I see this. One day I was sitting down at the TV, and for a couple of minutes I started feeling negative. And you ever get to a point you just start feeling negative, and then when you think about it, you don't even know what you're feeling negative about? You ever think, you say, oh shit, I'm in trouble about something. And then you weigh it, you start feeling worried. And then you think about it, you say, goddamn, I ain't got nothing to be worried about. Not to the point where as I don't have anything to be worried. You really can't find nothing that you were supposed to be worried about in the first place. That's the entities getting at you. You see what I'm saying? Getting at you. And then if you get weaker and weaker, so the masses, they don't know about that. So they just like open